I'm 93 years old, and I need to tell you about the biggest scam I ever fell for. It wasn't a pyramid scheme. It wasn't a bad investment. It was a lie that success would make me happy. I spent 50 years building an empire, manufacturing company. Started with nothing, built it into a $40 million business. I had the house, the cars, the country club membership, the respect. I had everything I was supposed to want, and I was absolutely miserable. But here's the part that nobody tells you about success. You can't admit you're miserable, because if you admit it, then what was it all for? My name is Henry, and I'm going to tell you about the 50 years I spent chasing the wrong thing, and the moment I lost everything and realized I'd finally won. Let me tell you when I learned the wrong lesson. Not at 93, not at 70, not even at 50. I learned it at 8 years old. It was 1939, Great Depression. My father lost his job at the steel mill in Pittsburgh. I remember coming home from school one day, and my mother was crying in the kitchen. Not loud crying, quiet crying. The kind that's worse because she's trying to hide it. My father was sitting at the table with his head in his hands. They were 2 months behind on rent. The landlord had given them until Friday. I was 8 years old, and I understood something that day that shaped the next 60 years of my life. Money equals safety. No money equals shame. My father, this man who I thought was strong, looked broken, humiliated, less than human. And I made a promise to myself that day in that kitchen. I was never going to be in that position. I was never going to feel that shame. I was never going to be powerless. I was going to be rich. And I was, but I paid a price for it that I'm still calculating at 93 years old. I started working when I was 12, paper route, delivering groceries, shining shoes, any job I could get. I saved every penny, while other kids were buying candy. I was putting nickels in a coffee can under my bed. By the time I was 16, I had $300 saved. That was serious money in 1947. I graduated high school. Everyone expected me to get a factory job like my father eventually did, but I had bigger plans. I took my $300 and I bought a broken-down truck, fixed it up myself, started a small hauling business. By 22, I had 3 trucks. By 25, I had 12 trucks and a warehouse. By 30, I had transitioned into manufacturing. Small parts for automotive. Nothing glamorous, but profitable. I worked 80-hour weeks, sometimes 100. I was building something. I was going to be somebody. In 1962, I married a woman named Catherine. Beautiful woman, kind, worked as a nurse. We met at a church social. She laughed at my jokes, made me feel like maybe I was more than just my business. We got married 6 months later. And you know what I did on our honeymoon? I checked in with my foreman every single day. We were in Niagara Falls. Catherine wanted to take a boat ride on the falls. Romantic, right? I told her I had an important call. Spent 2 hours on the phone with a supplier. She sat on the hotel bed and cried. And I told her she was being dramatic, that I was building our future, that she should be grateful. We had 2 children, Margaret in 1964, Thomas in 1967, and I missed both of their births. Not because I was deployed overseas, not because I was in an accident, because I had business meetings. When Catherine went into labor with Margaret, I was closing a deal. My secretary came into the meeting and said, "Mr. Harrison, The hospital called. Your wife. And I held up my hand, told her to take a message. I'd deal with it after the meeting. I got to the hospital 4 hours after Margaret was born. Catherine wouldn't look at me. The nurse handed me my daughter, this tiny, perfect human being. And all I could think was, good, a daughter. She won't expect to go into the business. What kind of man thinks that when he holds his newborn child? A man who's already lost. That's who. By 1975, I had 200 employees. By 1980, I had 3 manufacturing plants across the Midwest. By 1985, my company was worth $40 million. I had made it. I bought a house on the nicest street in town. 6,000 square feet, swimming pool, 3-car garage. Catherine wanted a smaller house, said she'd feel lonely in something so big. I told her she was being ridiculous. This house was a statement. This house said we'd arrived. I bought a Mercedes, then another one, then a Jaguar. I joined the country club, started playing golf every Saturday with other businessmen. Not because I enjoyed golf. I hated golf, but that's where deals happened. I collected things, expensive watches. I had 7 Rolex watches. 7. You know how many wrists I have? 1. But I kept buying them because I don't even know why. Because I could. Because that's what successful people did. Expensive suits. Custom made. $2,000 each. Artwork I didn't understand. I had a painting in my office that cost $15,000. Some modern thing. Looked like a child spilled paint. But it was important. The art dealer told me so. Everything in my life became about signaling. Signaling that I was successful, that I was important, that I mattered. But here's what I couldn't admit, not even to myself. I hated my life. In 1988, Catherine left me. After 26 years of marriage, she packed a suitcase and left. I came home from work one day, late as always, and there was a note on the kitchen table. It said, "Henry, I have begged you for 26 years to see me, to see our children, to be present. You chose your business every single time. I'm 52 years old. I don't know how much time I have left, but I'm not spending it being invisible in my own home. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just done. Catherine." I read that note 3 times. And you know what my first thought was? Not, oh God, what have I done? Not, I need to fix this. My first thought was, how is this going to look at the country club? I called her. She was staying with her sister. I said, "Catherine, let's talk about this. Be reasonable." She said, "Henry, I've been reasonable for 26 years. I'm done being reasonable." I said, "What do you want? A bigger house? A trip to Europe? Tell me what you want and I'll buy it." She laughed, not a happy laugh, a sad, broken laugh. She said, "That's the problem. Henry, you think everything can be bought. You think love is a transaction. You think presence is a purchase." And she hung up. We divorced in 1989. She got the house. I didn't even fight her for it. What did I need a 6,000 square foot house for? I moved into a condo downtown, closer to the office, more time to work. My daughter Margaret, I barely knew her. She went to college, got married, had kids. I found out about her wedding from an invitation in the mail. Formal invitation, like I was a business acquaintance. I showed up, wrote her a check for $50,000. She looked at the check and said, Thank you, Dad. No hug, no tears. Just, thank you, Dad. Like I was a distant uncle. My son Thomas tried harder. He wanted a relationship. Called me every week. Dad, want to grab lunch? Dad, want to come to my son's soccer game? And I always had an excuse. Can't. Big meeting. Can't. Traveling for business. Can't. Too much work. Eventually, he stopped calling, and I told myself that was fine. He was busy with his own life. I was busy with mine. But it wasn't fine. Nothing was fine. I was 65 years old, financially successful beyond my wildest dreams. And I didn't have a single person who actually knew me. In 2007, I was 76 years old. The economy was starting to show cracks. Real estate bubble bursting. Financial crisis looming. My business was leveraged. I'd taken out loans to expand. Big loans. When the crisis hit in 2008, everything collapsed. Orders dried up overnight. Clients couldn't pay. Banks called in loans. I lost the business. 50 years of work. Gone. I had to declare bankruptcy. Sell everything. The manufacturing plants. The equipment. Everything. Even my condo. Even my cars. At 77 years old, I lost it all. I moved into a small one-bedroom apartment. The kind of apartment I would have looked down on my entire life. 800 square feet, beige carpet, kitchenette, shared laundry room in the basement. I sold my Rolex watches, all 7 of them. Got maybe 30% of what I paid. Sold my suits, my artwork, my golf clubs, everything. And you know what's funny? Not funny, haha. Funny strange. The day I moved into that little apartment, carrying the few possessions I had left in cardboard boxes, I felt lighter than I had in 40 years. For the first time since I was 8 years old watching my father cry at the kitchen table, I had nothing. No business. No status. No expensive things to maintain. Just me in a small apartment at 77 years old. And I had to face something I've been running for my entire life. Without the business, without the money, without the things, who was I? The answer was terrifying. I didn't know. I had spent 70 years being what I did, not who I was. I had no hobbies, no interests outside of work, no friends outside of business contacts. I didn't even know what I liked. Did I like jazz? Classical? Rock and roll? I had no idea. I'd never taken the time to find out. Did I like reading? Museums? Theater? No idea. I was 77 years old, and I was meeting myself for the first time. So I started over, not with business, not with money, with myself. I went to the library, got a library card, first time in 60 years. Started reading everything, fiction, history, philosophy. I discovered I loved historical biographies. Who knew? I started taking walks, not for exercise, not with a goal, just walking, looking at things, noticing the world, trees, birds, the way light hits buildings at different times of day. Sounds stupid, right? A 77-year-old man excited about noticing trees, but I'd spent my entire life moving too fast to see anything. I joined a community center, started volunteering, Meals on Wheels, delivering food to elderly people. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was 77. They were 85, but it felt good to help. to be useful in a way that wasn't about money. I called my son Thomas. Hadn't spoken to him in 5 years. I said, "Thomas, I don't have a business anymore. I don't have money. I don't have anything to offer you except me, and I know that's not much. But if you'd be willing to have coffee, I'd like to try." He said yes. We had coffee. I listened, really listened. He told me about his kids, his job, his life, and I realized I didn't know any of it because I'd never asked. Not once in 30 years had I asked him about his life in a way that wasn't just checking a box. I'm 93 years old now. I live in the same small apartment, 800 square feet. I get Social Security. That's it, $1,800 a month. I shop at discount grocery stores. I wear clothes from Goodwill. I don't own a car. I take the bus. And I am happier now than I ever was when I had $40 million. Not because poverty is noble. It's not. Not because money doesn't matter. It does. But because I finally understand what money is for. It's not for signaling. It's not for accumulating. It's not for proving anything. It's for freedom, for security, for taking care of the people you love. But I spent my life using money to build walls instead of bridges, using success to separate myself instead of connect. My son Thomas visits me every week now, brings his kids, my grandchildren. They love coming to my tiny apartment. They think it's cozy. We play board games. We cook simple meals together. We talk. And those Sunday afternoons are worth more than every $1 million I ever made. Margaret, that's harder. She's cordial, but distant. The damage went too deep. I missed too much. I chose wrong too many times. But we exchange emails now. She sends me photos of her life. And I write back. Actually write. Not just looks great. I tell her about books I'm reading, about things I'm thinking about. I'm trying to let her see me, the real me, not the successful businessman, just Henry, her father. It might be too late for Margaret and me to have a real relationship. That's the consequence of my choices. But at least now I'm making different choices. I'm telling you this because I see you making the same mistake I made. You think success will fill the hole. You think if you just make enough money, get enough status, achieve enough, then you'll be happy. Then you'll be enough. But that hole can't be filled with achievements. It can't be filled with money. It can't be filled with things. The only thing that fills it is connection, purpose, presence. I made $40 million. And I would trade every dollar of it for one more Sunday afternoon with my father before he died. For one more evening where I actually listened to Catherine instead of thinking about work. For one more chance to show up for Margaret's school play. For one more moment of being present instead of performing. The greatest poverty isn't having no money. It's having everything except what matters. I'm 93 years old. Most of my life is behind me. And if I could go back and talk to 25-year-old Henry, building his business, working 100-hour weeks, I'd say, stop, you're running toward the wrong thing. Success is in the house. It's not the cars. It's not the watches or the country club or the respect of people who don't actually know you. Success is knowing yourself. Success is being known. Success is Sunday afternoons with people who love you for who you are, not what you've achieved. I lost $40 million, and I finally became rich. What are you chasing right now that's going to leave you empty? What are you sacrificing that you can't get back? The clock is ticking, not toward success, toward the end. Make sure you're building something that matters.